Thank you for yielding the time. Dr. Bowens, can you define what gender dysmorphia is?
Dysmorphia or dysphoria?
Well, is those two different terms?
Yes, so gender dysphoria is a diagnosis in the DSM, which is what we're talking about, I think.
Yes. So is it increasing among our children now, this gender dysphoria?
Yes, the diagnosis has increased. I believe even from 2021 to current, there was a 40% increase. The other thing is that we've also had a proliferation of gender clinics. So 10 years ago, there was just maybe a few, and now all of a sudden, there are tons of gender clinics with a really steep curve of surgical markets expected to increase.
So do you think social media has any role in this increase in gender dysphoria?
Absolutely. We know that kids are being influenced. I mean, I have a list of, there are 40,000 subscribers to a detransitioning site, and I have a list of people who are willing to testify, not to mention those who are silent. But I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Well, just about the role of social media and
yes.
the influences there.
So social media, especially with this age cohort, has a very important role. The unfortunate thing, and which is actually the compassionate thing, would be if we were to begin to research why is there such an increase in diagnoses of gender dysphoria, and not just our pat answer of more people feel comfortable coming out. No, why has the demographic flipped from mostly biological males experiencing gender dysphoria to biological females? So we don't have answers to those questions, and yet we're plowing ahead with this kind of these procedures anyway.
Well, the evidence seems to show that there's sort of a rush to force gender transition or sex change procedures on children. Are we imagining that, or do you think that's actually happening?
No, I don't think we're imagining that. I wish that some of the experiences that we've heard reported today were accurate for the population at whole, but that's not what we're seeing. I mean, you could go on Planned Parenthood's website and see that if you want testosterone or estrogen prescription, you can go there and get it in an hour. You don't have to go through a rigorous assessment. I think if we had those markers in place, then you'd see kids not running towards this kind of transition, because I think the number is around 78% come to a clinical setting with at least 3 other, or at least some kind of diagnosis other than gender dysphoria.
I think it's an obvious fact that there are some industries that stand to benefit financially from all these procedures and all this experimentation. Are you aware of European nations putting a pause on gender transition procedures for minors?
Yes. I mean, and I think that's the issue that we're asking for. This is the compassionate issue. Let's review the literature.
Yeah.
Let's review what does the science actually say, and not just from people who are supporters, either way, but what does the science say? And then what we're seeing is countries like the UK that shut down the Tavistock clinic. You're seeing other countries like Finland, Norway, et cetera, that once they actually look at the science that's used to support these procedures, they back away from it because the evidence is actually very weak.
And there's no reliable studies on long-term effects. We don't know.
The longest one we have is Sweden, because it goes 10 years. And the reality is that a lot of people don't experience regret until like 5 to 7 years after they've gone through these procedures.
I'll have more time for questions for the panel. I know Ms. Cole's about to hit that button. I'm coming back to you, so I'll have more time. But I just want to note that on May 13th of 2021, a subcommittee member here on Judiciary, our colleague, Ms. Sheila Jackson-Lee, who walked in the room, I'm going to quote you because you said, and I think it's up on the screen there, in essence, the brain doesn't fully mature until at least 25 years old. Does that tell us about high school students, middle schoolers, and yes, young people who make rash or irreverent or spontaneous decisions? Should that be their life? Now, admittedly, she was saying this in the context of a criminal subcommittee hearing, but I think that is a truism. I think she stated an obvious fact that everybody should acknowledge. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. I'll have some more in a bit. the chair